I want to introduce myself. My name is Bob Chapman. I'm CEO of Barry Wehmiller Companies based in St. Louis. We operate all over the world. We make capital equipment. We've got 12,000 team members. And I'm privileged to have a chance to share our message of truly human leadership with this State of Talent Conference for Western Florida. Let me give you a little bit of background because I think it'll be helpful to my career. Started off at Indiana University getting an accounting degree, made a decision to get an MBA, and then got a position with Price Waterhouse. Very traditional business background. And then after a couple of years in public accounting, I joined a small privately held company that my dad had bought into in the 1960s. And so I would say for the first half of my career, I had very traditional business focused on shareholder value, growth, the traditional things we think about from a business standpoint. I would say to you that though, that I want you to be aware that prior to the pandemic, I've been giving this talk that you're going to see shortly for about 15 years because of my concern for what I felt to be the issues we faced in the world in all parts of our society. I give this speech in every part of society, in the military, government, healthcare. I see these issues of leadership everywhere. It is not just business. And I want you to consider that prior to the pandemic, when we had the lowest unemployment in 50 years, a strong stock market, we weren't sending young men and women off to war in the world, that we had one of the highest levels of depression and anxiety we have ever had. Why? Why would we have that when we had peace and prosperity? Because people didn't feel valued, they felt used for somebody else's gain. Tom Friedman recently wrote an article in the New York Times that I think captured it as the background. He said, we don't have a poverty of money, we have a poverty of dignity in this world. People don't feel dignity, they feel a sense of humiliation, and you'll see riots and protests like you've never seen before. And he goes on to say, what we need to do is we need to be engaged in deep listening so we can understand each other. So you're going to be watching now a video I was privileged to give at the Aspen Ideas Festival to basically a sold out crowd. And I hope it resonates with you, and we'll talk further after you've watched the video. The message there is we can profoundly change the world. So I want to kind of walk you through this journey that I've had in my leadership journey. I had the privilege about a year and a half ago to participate in my granddaughter's graduation from Aspen High School. It's in the music tent. It's a beautiful venue, and as I sat in the seats with Cynthia, as our granddaughter Aiden walked up and with 150 other students, everybody was so proud of their child, so pleased with the opportunity of one of the best public high schools in the state of Colorado, going to good colleges, good universities, and everybody was applauding and looking forward to these children entering the world. And from my experience in the world, I had a tear in my eye because I knew the world that they were going into. And while we have this joy that we're sending their kids out into the world, my concern is that we have not created a world where they're going to continue to be who they're intended to be. And I want to share that with you. So I had a tear in my eye, but I have hope in my heart. Here's the crisis. 88% of all people who work in this country feel they work for an organization that does not care about them. 3 out of 4 people in this country are disengaged in what they're doing. We talk about the healthcare crisis. Guess who's the cause of the healthcare crisis? Organizations in this country are the cause of the healthcare crisis. Why? Because 74% of all illnesses in this country are chronic. The biggest cause of chronic illness is stress, and the biggest cause of stress is work, okay? Do you know that on Monday mornings there's a 20% increase in heart attacks as people have to go back to work? You know, we talk about an economy where we create jobs, but we're not creating dignity and we're not creating caring, and that's what we want to talk to you about. Recently, the Mayo Clinic told us something that it was startling to me. The person you report to at work, your supervisor, is more important to your health than your family doctor. Think about that. How many people in leadership positions in this country are aware that the way they lead the team of people they have the privilege of leading is going to be a primary factor in the health of the people that they have the privilege of leading? So the way we're working is not working, from our education to our work environment. And so what the world is suffering from is leadership malpractice. Okay? From the highest level, and again, I'm talking about American business, but I've had the privilege of speaking in the Air Force. I've had the privilege of speaking to the healthcare industry and to the education field, and it is broken everywhere, not just in American business. Nonprofits, do leaders of nonprofits know how to care for the people who volunteer? Do our principals in our school know how to care for the teachers in our school? Do you know that 71% of the teachers in this country are disengaged in what they're doing? Disengaged. The people that you send your children to get their basic education are disengaged in what they're doing. They're hurting just as much as the American worker. So we have leadership malpractice in this country, and we could solve it tomorrow. Gallup did a survey of 155 countries for the source of happiness. They thought it would be money, right? It wasn't money because people had enough money. They were no longer motivated by money. They thought it would be health. They found people take their health for granted. Their number one source of happiness in the world, which every one of you want for yourself, people you care about, and the people of this country, is a good job working with people you enjoy. So what do we deny to 88% of the people in this country? And so when we see the political and climate we have, why are we surprised? There's nothing that, I always say to the groups that I get to talk to around the country, don't worry about who's president or who your congressman is. Worry about what you are doing to create an environment where everybody matters. So we're going to walk through this a little bit. Our journey to truly human leadership. Some of you may have seen Simon Sinek yesterday. I've heard of him. He's the #3 TED Talk in the world. We originally called it people-centric leadership. Leadership focused on the people whose lives are entrusted to us. But Simon Sinek came and he spent a lot of time with us. He's now our biggest advocate in the world, as you saw from that video. And Simon said, no, Bob, this is truly human leadership. This is the way we are intended to lead each other. And it's about people, purpose, and performance. There was a restaurant here in Aspen, some of you remember, named Boogie's, and there was a sign on Boogie's wall that said quality, price, and service. Pick any two, okay? People, purpose, and performance. It's not pick any two, not pick any one. Right now, our society picks #3. It is about performance, about creating of shareholder value. It starts with the fundamental responsibility. I was interviewed for 2 hours by Washington University in St. Louis organizational professors. And after 2 hours of interview, they said to me, you're the first CEO I've ever talked to that didn't talk about your product. And I said, we've been talking about our product for the last 2 hours. Seriously, when you think about your life, are you going to look back at the machines or the products or the things you sold or the lives you touched? So when you look at an organization and you look at #1, the people you have the privilege of leading and knowing that you're going to materially affect their health, it puts a totally different spin on what leadership is. Around a purpose. We come together, Simon talks about finding your why. Why do we come together, and how do I inspire people to discover their gifts, develop their gifts, share their gifts, and as you'll hear, be appreciated for their gifts. And then we have to create value. Inc. magazine did a story of Barry Wehmiller and said, people over profit. That is not true. That's what the author of the article wanted to say. It is people in harmony with profit. If we do not create value in organizations, nonprofit, for-profit, we cannot be good stewards of the lives entrusted to us. That is the basis upon which we come together. So it's people, starts with people, profound sense of responsibility for the people you invite into your organization, a purpose that inspires them, and then we have to create value and let people know that they make a difference. We are going to measure success by the way we touch the lives of people, not the growth in our share value, not the growth in our sales, not our market share, but we are going to measure success. We touch our customers, we touch our team members, we touch our bankers, our suppliers, our communities. success is the way we touch all these, and we articulated these values. And so it gave us this foundation upon which to base everything. And now let me tell you a story. We then implemented these. We started a university to start teaching people how to learn to care. And we were having an event up in Green Bay, Wisconsin, a company we bought, $180 million company to make tissue equipment for people like Procter & Gamble. And we were having this global leadership meeting. We had about 20 of our presidents and operating executives, another 20. So we had about 40 or 50 people in the room. And I got an email the night before we were going to start the meeting. And David Operations said, you might want to walk out into the plant, Bob, because some people did some exercises in lean waste elimination, the Toyota production system. He said, I think they'd really appreciate your acknowledging what they've achieved. And I said, well, Craig, why don't you just have them come into the meeting and update everybody? So these three gentlemen, 2 UAW team members, 1 non-union team member, which was Steve here, who I'd never met before, got into work the next morning. VP of Operations said, you're going to go talk to everybody. So they came in front of all of our presidents and they talked the language of business. It was all about numbers. We came together, challenged to reduce costs, improve quality, reduce lead time, and improve customer experience. And it was numbers, numbers, numbers. And they were talking the language of business. Again, to repeat, my mind goes to different places. I wasn't paying any attention to the numbers. And I looked at this gentleman whose picture here, his name is Steve. I'd never met him before. I said, Steve, how did it affect your life, this? And what he told me was profound. Here's a gentleman who had no idea he was going to talk to the chairman of the company, never met me, didn't know the questions. And Steve stood up and he said, you know, Mr. Chapman, I've worked at this company for 30 years. I show up to work, punch my card, I'm told what to do. Nobody ever asks me what I think. I get 10 things right and I never heard a word, and I get one thing wrong and I get my ass chewed out. He said, I found in reflection, when I'd go home at night, I didn't feel very good about myself, the way I was treated all day. But you know, that was just my job and nothing I could do about it. So when I'd get home at night, I'd take my baseball cap off, I'd open the screen door and I'd throw my hat in. If my hat came flying back out, I knew I better go down to the bar and have a beer because it clearly wasn't a very good environment. But since we embraced truly human leadership and people now ask me what I think, I get to contribute to making things better and my ideas get heard. He said, Mr. Chapman, when I go home at night, I feel dramatically different. And when I feel dramatically different, when I go home at night, I'm nicer to my wife. And you know what? When I'm nicer to her, she talks to me. This is the revelation that occurred here in Aspen. A friend of ours, his daughter was getting married down at the Roaring Fork Club. Cynthia and I were in the audience, and he was walking his daughter. Some of you have had the privilege of doing it. He was walking his daughter down the aisle, and everybody was oohing and ahhing how beautiful she looked, how proud he was. When they got to the altar, he took the hand of his daughter, and he gave it to this young man and said, her mother and I give our daughter to be wed to this young man. And he sits down next to his wife, and they hug each other to watch the ceremony continue. Now, any man in this room who's walked his daughter down the aisle knows absolutely that is not what he intended to say. It's what he was told to say. It's what he was told to say at the rehearsal that night before. What he wanted to say is, look at young man. Her mother and I brought this precious young lady into this world. We've given her everything we can give her so she can be who she's intended to be. And we expect you, young man, through this marriage to continue to allow her to be who she's intended to be. Do you understand that, young man? So I sat there, and as you now know, my mind goes to different places. And I said, oh my God, all 12,000 of our people are somebody's precious child, just like that young lady. How we lead impacts people's health and their family unit. And we don't need to teach you anything other than to awaken you to the profound privilege of leading others. It's not about pay and title and power. We can create a world where everybody's precious child know that who they are and what they do matters. We can celebrate children going out into the world if we learn to be good leaders.
Now that you've had a chance to kind of hear our message as expressed at the Aspen Ideas Festival, I want to summarize things I want you to take away from this, from the journey I've been on for the last 50 years. One of the key insights is that everyone in your organization are not functions. They're not receptionists, engineers, accountants, salespeople. There's somebody's precious child that's been placed in your care, and the way you treat them is going to be profoundly important to their health and their wealth. We created, to transform managers into leaders, we created a leadership institute where we teach our managers how to become leaders. And the keys that we teach starts with the foundation of empathetic listening, so we can understand the people that we have the privilege of leading. We teach recognition and celebration, how to let them know they matter. And then we teach culture of service, which is serving the opportunity to see others. As a result of these fundamental teachings we provide to transform managers into leaders, our culture has become known around the world as a truly human leadership culture, where our focus is on our people. I say it is every leader's responsibility to give those in your span of care a grounded sense of hope for the future. It's interesting that when we decided we had to teach people how to be leaders, not managers, 95% of the feedback from what we teach is of how it affects their marriage and their relationship with their children and how they behave in our communities. Washington University and Georgetown University did a study of our culture, and they found a high degree of altruism, which is people doing things for other people without expecting anything in return. Isn't that what you want for those people in your span of care? Today, Harvard did a case study. It's being studied by all Harvard MBA students and 28 other universities around the world. We're working with McKinsey, the prestigious McKinsey organization, on their leadership fundamentals, and many others in the world right now, trying to share this vision we have of a world where our focus is on the people we have the privilege of leading. What we're trying to show through this video and this discussion is that we can create human value and economic value in harmony. They are not in disharmony. So imagine this, as you leave this conference, imagine this. What if our schools, K through 12 and graduate schools, taught students how to listen and care for each other? Not about me and my success, but about we, moving from a me-centric world to a we-centric world. We know that you can teach these fundamentals because we're doing it, and we're beginning to work with schools and universities around the country on how we can bring this into our education system, because we've learned in the work we're doing with our Chapman & Co. Leadership Institute that we are treating cancer, but we're not curing cancer. The cure for this cancer of the use of people for economic gain is to care for the people you have the privilege of leading, and we have been blessed with a model to do that, which we're sharing. As I look back on my education, it was always about me and my success. I was never taught to care for those I would have the privilege of leading as I went through that journey. What if every leader in every facet of our community looked at the people you have the privilege of leading every day as somebody's precious child and treating them like you would like your child treated if they were in a position in your organization? What we're talking about is creating caring communities where people genuinely care for each other, and we can eliminate the anxiety and depression from people feeling used for somebody else's gain. I'm sharing with you not a academic theory. I'm sharing with you what we've done. People who visit our company and visit with our people say that they have never seen anything like it. And the people who share how they feel about this journey come to tears saying what it feels to be part of an organization that cares about them. I'll leave you with this thought. I was interviewed by Washington University several years ago by their organization development professors. And after an hour and a half interview, they said to me, Mr. Chapman, you're the first CEO we've ever talked to that never talked about your product. And I said, excuse me, we've been talking about our product for the last hour and a half. I will not go to my grave proud of the people, of the machinery we built. I will go to my grave proud of the people who built that machinery. Our product is our people. Our determination is to send each one of them home each day knowing that who they are and what they do matters, so we can begin healing and working better together within our communities, because people are valued for their individual contributions, not the profits and losses. Thank you for this opportunity to be a part of this conference. I hope our message resonates with you, and I'm privileged to have been blessed with this message to share with you today.